jail for sure. All right. So once upon a time, in a land far, far away. Okay, so back when I was a schmoove, I want to say 19 years old, I was dating a fella. You know what I mean? Nice guy. We were like dating, and like he like half-assed lived with me, kind of. I don't know, because I had my own apartment, and he would always come over right after work. And like after he would always come over after work, like forever, I was just like, you should just keep like staying the night here because like I like you being here and stuff. So we like kind of like were like half-assed like living together at the time, and I didn't have a car. Anyway, so I didn't have a car. Like when I moved in my first apartment, I didn't have shit. When I shit you not, I had one of them little TVs that I took from my mom's house that was like a little box. I had a milk carton that it was sitting on, like a literal fucking milk carton, and I had a mattress on the floor. Like I had nothing. Like when I moved out when I was a kid, I had nothing because like I was a child. What the fuck, you know? But I did have a job, and my boo thing, should we give him a name? Let's give him a fun name. I'm gonna call him Frederick. Okay, so my boo thing had a car. I didn't have a car, and I was working at this shitty job, and I finally got a better one. Carter. Frederick sounds fancier, right? So I didn't have a car. Anyways, so me and Frederickson, I'm gonna keep changing his name. He would let me use his car because the way his job was set up and the way my job was set up, like the schedules were kind of like perfect to where I could take him to work, and then I could go to work, and then I can get, oh, you missed some of the jail story? No, you're fine. It hasn't even started. I was literally just explaining that back in the day, I didn't have a vehicle, and I was working, and basically I would like trade-offs. I would like take my boyfriend at the time to his job, or like he would drop me off and walk a flock claim. So I was like using his car. Now this fella, he had lived with his parents before he started like hanging out and like kind of living at my house. And his parents were always like on top of all his bills for him, and they always like made sure that all his shit was paid. What they would literally do is when he would get paid every week, his parents would like take the money that he needed for his bills out of his paycheck, so he wouldn't like spend it or whatever, right? So he like, we were young, like he didn't know how to manage money basically. Hey yo! So the reason I'm telling you guys this is because once he started kind of like living with me, he did not know how to pay his bills. Okay, so he had forgotten to pay his insurance, and he had forgotten to replace his tags on his car. I didn't know anything about cars. Okay, I didn't know anything about registration or any of that shit. And he just like, he didn't like, I don't know, I can't be mad at him because he genuinely didn't know, like we were kids. So anyway, I was driving home from work one day and I got pulled over by the cops. I got pulled over by the cops. First of all, this lady was a bitch. She was a whole ass bitch. She was this white little blonde cop bitch, and she pulled me over and she was like, your tags are expired. I need your license and registration to walk a flock of flame. By the way, this is the only time I've ever been pulled over. I got pulled over because the tags were expired. Okay, so I'm an excellent driver. This is the only time I have ever in my life been pulled over. By the way, I'm 34 years old, and this is when I was 19. Just so you guys know, and the only reason I was pulled over is because my tags. Anyway, so she was such a bitch. She was like yelling at me, and she made me get out of the car, and she was just like a fucking bitch. Anyway, I gave her all the papers I had, and she was like, this insurance is expired. And I was like, I'm sorry. I mean, this is my boyfriend's car. I was like scared. I was like, I genuinely don't understand. Like, I don't know. I was like, this is his car. And she's like, oh, so it's not your vehicle? And I was like, I didn't steal it. It's his car. He let me drive it to work. And then she was such a bitch. And then she threatened me. And she was like, do not start this car again. You better call someone to come pick you up. I don't want to ever see you on the road and blah, 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 right? So I called my boyfriend and I was like crying and I was all upset and shit. And I was like, she said, I can't drive the car. He was like, drive that shit home. Like, nobody else is gonna come get you. Just drive it home. Like, fuck that bitch. Like, just drive safe, take the back roads, don't get on the big streets, whatever. And I was like, all right. Anyway. That's what happened, right? Yeah, she was a bitch. She's a whole bitch, nothing but a bitch. Over some fucking tags. A 19-year-old girl in a Best Buy uniform. Like, bitch, relax. I'm not gonna kill anybody, right? Anyways, fast forward, I had a court date. On my court date, it said that I had to appear in court or whatever, right? The morning of, at this point in my life, my daughter's a year old. Okay, so I have a 1-year-old baby. Jay was sick the night before. She was throwing up, and then she gave me her stomach bug. I was throwing up. Me and her were both sick. Let me finish. I'm getting distracted in chat. Anyway, me and Jay were both sick, right? And the morning came, and I was like, I cannot stop throwing up, and I have to go to court. What the fuck do I do? So I was talking to, I think like my mom or something, and they were like, oh, well, you can call the court and see if you can reschedule your court hearing, like if you're too sick or whatever to appear. So I called the court, and I was like, I have a 1-year-old daughter. Me and her are both sick. We're throwing up. Is there any way I can reschedule this appointment? And the lady on the phone was like, what was your thing for? I was like, oh, I had expired tags and my insurance was expired. And the lady on the phone was like, well, do you have insurance now? And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, as soon as that happened, I went home and we paid the insurance, and the insurance is current. Everything's current, everything's good now. And she's like, oh, okay, well, you don't have to actually go to court. Just bring in the copies that you have insurance and your tags are good now and you're fine. And I was like, oh, really? And she's like, yeah, just bring that in, or have your boyfriend bring it in if you're too sick or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And I hung up, right? So I thought everything was good. Little did I know, Jonesy had a bench warrant for her arrest. They were going to all of my family. Like, the police were going to like my family looking for me, saying that I had a failure to appear and I had a fucking bench warrant to be arrested. And I called back and I literally explained, I was like, the lady on the phone said as long as I had it, all I had to do was bring that in. And they're like, that's not true. I was like I literally printed out my phone records to show the court that I talked to the court that morning. They didn't give a shit. They were like, the only thing you can do now is you have to come to the jail. You have to turn yourself in. You have to get fingerprinted and put in the system. And then someone has to post your bail of like $500 and you can get out. Now she's asking, am I a good driver? Yeah. I was like, can I just give you guys the $500? They said, nope. You have to turn yourself in. This is your situation? Isn't the justice system some bullshit? They said you have to come down here, get mug-shotted, get fingerprinted, get put in the cell. But then they were sugarcoating the shit. They were like, oh, but it's a quick process. You just have to turn yourself in and then someone can bail you out and you can go, right? So this is where the other side of the bullshit comes, right? So I did not want to do this for the longest time, but I'm like, damn, okay, I can't do it on a Friday because ain't no way I'm about to get accidentally left in there for the weekend, you know? So I literally waited until like a Monday. And I told my dad all about it. My dad was laughing because he's an asshole like me, right? My dad was laughing and he was like, so what are you gonna wear to prison? And I was like, I'm just gonna put on like some sweatpants and like a big shirt, you know what I'm saying? And he was just like, all right, go turn yourself in. I was like, all right. So I had on some big South Pole baggy sweatpants, like an Echo giant biggie ass t-shirt, walk my ass into jail. He was like, I'm here. Shout out to South Pole. I'm like, I'm here. Yeah, them cargo sweatpants that had hella pockets. That's what I had. But this is where it was bullshit, right? Because they fingerprinted me and then they made me sit in this little lobby with everyone else that was like getting checked in. And they had like 5 big screen TVs up and each one was showing like sex ed stuff about like STDs. I was like, why are we having to watch this? Y'all can't put on no cartoons? And they had that shit playing in there. And then when they went to like go check me in, I was too nice, okay? Because I was like, I'm only gonna be here for a little while, right? They give me a little bag with a sandwich in it. I'm like, I'm not eating that. I'm not eating that mystery sandwich. I gave it to somebody else. I'm like, in my head, I was like, I just have to come in here and then I get bailed out. Like that was the whole agreement. I get in, I get checked in, I get bailed out. So I was literally just waiting to go home the whole time. So I gave my sandwich to somebody else. Anytime someone tried to speak to me, I was like, oh no, I'm about to go home. You know, good luck on y'all charges. I have someone outside waiting to bail me out. I'm good, right? First of all, that shit took hours. Yo, Grave, welcome in. How are you? I'm telling my time I had to go to jail story for anyone that's just coming in. That shit took hours. That shit took fucking hours. And then when they brought me to this little station, this lady was like, this part always makes me laugh because they brought me into this little area, right? And they were like, okay, do you have anything on you? And I was like, oh no, I don't have anything. She's like, you have nothing at all. I was like, no, nothing in my pockets, nothing at all. She's like, you don't have any jewelry? I was like, oh yeah, I have a ring. And she's like, what's on that ring? She was like trying to see it. At the time, it was me and my boyfriend's name and our birthstones. And it had like a little, a message engraved on it. I really liked my ring. It was like a promise ring or whatever, right? So when she asked me what was on it, the reason she was asking is to see if it was like something that could like if it was like protruding at all, I guess, or like trying to like, if she needed to take it from me, basically. But I just thought she was genuinely curious because I didn't realize I was in jail. So I explained that to her. I like leaned forward. I was like, yeah, it has our name. I'm like, and our birthstones and And when I got done, I shit you not, you guys, I was looking at my finger and I looked up at her and she was like, take it off. I was like, oh, okay. Here you go, bitch. Like, damn, tough crowd. So rude. No one wanted to be friendly. No one wanted to make polite conversation. Everyone was fucking mean, okay? Everyone was rude as shit. I smiled in my mugshot because in my head I kept thinking, you're just gonna be here for a little bit. It's just gonna be a little bit and you can go home. You know, so I smiled in my mugshot picture. I was like, all right, let's go home. I didn't go home for hours and hours and hours. They put me in a fucking cell. They put me in a goddamn cell with criminals. It was like me and like 10 other bitches. And they were like, we gotta do a shift change. That shit took hours. So it was me locked in this cell with like 7 other bitches, all just sitting around. One girl could not stop crying. And she was pissing me off because she would not stop crying. She was in a full prison jumpsuit because apparently she was in her military fatigues and she had a failure to appear for a DUI. And she was literally like because she was in the military. So she was on the field doing like the workout shit in the morning and they came and arrested her. But because she was in her fatigues, they can't, I found out, fun fact, they can't take you into prison if you're wearing fatigue. So they made her put on an orange jumper and she was just crying her eyes out in the corner. There was this other lady next to me who kept rocking back and forth. And of course everyone starts talking, what are you in for? You know, one of the ladies said that she was cooking meth and the SWAT team busted down her door. And I was just like, I'm listening to everyone's stories and stuff. They're like, what are you in here for? I was like, oh, I'm leaving soon. I'm going home soon. This is just a pit stop, okay? Y'all are going to jail, all right? My bond is coming right up, okay? We don't need to talk about me. Worry about y'all going to prison, all right? That's not my business. Yeah, literally. Also, hi Storm, hi 3 Bakes, welcome in. Hi TM, welcome in. I'm sorry, I'm mid-story. Hi Jake, welcome in. How are you? Yeah, y'all are going to jail. I am going home, okay? And I was literally like, they made it seem so easy, and I was mad because my boyfriend Fredrickson at the time, he was literally waiting outside because they told me they just needed to check me in and I could get bailed out, and it was like a half a day. It was like a half a fucking day in there, and he was out in the lobby just waiting for hours and hours and hours, and they wouldn't take his money. They're like, she's not checked in yet. Motherfuckers was doing shift changes. They was doing shift changes. I was like, can I just go home? And then this is the other thing that I felt was racist, okay, you guys? Because 2 different cops, 2 different times, 2 different cops, 2 different men, 2 different times said that they knew me. And I felt some type of way. When I first got in, this guy was like, oh, you again? I was like, me again? Sir, I've never been here before. And then when I was leaving, this other cop was like, oh, I see they're finally letting you go. I better not see you back in here again.
Unacceptable condition! Unacceptable!
I was like, thank you for the biddies. I was like, excuse me? You know, a lot of people tell me I look like someone they know. Yeah, they got me mixed up with somebody else. It was funny though, because when I was finally checking the whole process, it's so stupid because I can't even tell you how many cops there was just around and nobody was doing anything. I was like, this whole process from start to finish would have taken like 15 minutes had y'all actually moved quickly. But they weren't. I feel like they're wasting a lot of time. And then they take you to like the little psychiatric person where they ask you like the dumbest questions. She was like, how do you feel right now? I was like, not great. She's like, do you feel like you're gonna hurt yourself? I was like, no, but I'm not happy I'm in jail. Like if you genuinely want to know, you know, I just got my ring snatched off. I have to wear these fucking sandals. I don't like it here. Everyone looks like they want to hurt me. I don't like this. No, I don't feel good. They keep asking you questions like, are you gonna hurt yourself or others? I'm like, if you ask me that one more time. I'm just kidding. Like, it was such a fucking experience. It was such a fucking experience, you guys. And then I got a life lesson piece of advice when I was getting ready to leave. This girl next to me was just shaking her head. We were both getting ready to get checked out. It was just me and her. And she was like, she was dead serious too. She was like, listen, don't sell food stamps. It's not worth it. I was like, okay. I was like, all right. To this day, I remember that y'all don't sell food stamps. Okay, she was facing some shit. She got bailed out, but she had to come back. Okay, she wasn't free like me. She had to fucking go. She had to come back. You know what I'm saying? It was a whole fucking thing. But it was so funny because I remember after all those hours and all that bullshit, when I finally did get checked out, oh, that was the scary thing. When they would bring prison people by, those motherfuckers look mean. Like they would keep, because they like tried to separate the women from the men. But there was like dudes in the orange jumpsuits. Those are the prison fellas, okay? If you wore black and white stripes, you were the jail person. If you wore orange, you were in prison. So when they carted through a bunch of prison fellas in like chains with their ankles and their everything, like those motherfuckers look scary as hell. They was like glaring at us and shit. It was weird. But it was just funny because when I did finally leave, when I walked out, my boyfriend at the time, he was like,
don't sell food stamps.
Don't do it. It's not worth it. When I walked out to the car after I finally got out, I'm telling you, I was like almost a whole day of bullshit. Finally walked out to the car. My boyfriend was laughing and he was like, you look so different. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, the way you were walking, like the look on your face. I was like, oh, am I hardened? Did I come out fucking hardened? He was like, you look like you seen some shit. I was like, man, I was in jail. I was in jail, man. I seen some things. It was fucking, yeah, it was a whole experience.